Good afternoon, adventurers! Yes, 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 you know it's Friday. You know what that means? John's Dungeon Corner at the Collective in Altamont Springs, Florida. Oh, yeah. Where you can come and get all your Dungeons and Dragons supplies. For every need, we got it right here at the Collective. So, today, we talked about Dungeons and Dragons players, right? We talked about a lot of things Dungeons and Dragons. But today we're going to talk about something about the players. So I was asked to kind of explain actions in combat. There's so many things. They've heard so many things, different things. So we're going to kind of just go with the nitty gritty of what can we do during a round of combat. Okay. And I'm going to take it up a little further because I was also asked at the same time, well, what do we do in between? Isn't there stuff that we can do? I've heard this downtime stuff. What does that really mean? And how do we go about doing it? And okay, so I'm going to go over it. I'm going to touch on it. All right. Now, the basics of the combat round and what can we do is in the Player's Handbook, black and white. They also talk about downtime and that, but a lot of this other things that they had asked about feats. Once we get the fourth level, there's certain things that you can do. I want to talk about that from the book perspective. All right, not so much from. And then I'll tell you some of the things that I do in case you ever want to be a DM. You'll have a couple ideas of what you can and can't do. All right. So let's start like this. The Player's Handbook. I'll put my glasses on so I can see what I'm not looking at. All right. Okay. So the Player's Handbook. Marvelous tool. I don't think that you should even try to really play the game without it. That's just my sincere thought. There's so much information in here. And that's the thing. There is so much information in the Player's Handbook that can help you. Even things that you may not even think about asking about. You read and you're like, hey, I didn't know that. Okay, so we know that in the book, we can everything, race, class, all that. We go on, there's equipment, there's a spell, all the spells in the back of the book explained very well by level. They're in alphabetical order. They tell you what level it is, what type it is. It's Friday. Hey, Antonio. And all I see is a green screen. Oh, no. You can't. Sarah. Hi, Sarah. Happy Friday. What about you, Sarah? Screen is fine for you? Uh-oh, Antonio. Sorry, I don't know how to fix that because we gotta reboot. Uh-oh. Reboot AAA. So you gonna be okay there? All right, well, hopefully you can get back on because it's gonna be a fun day. All right, so welcome to the show, both of you, and I appreciate you guys spending a little bit of time with me this afternoon. So, and we go into the feats now. There's a lot of, like I said, everything that you need to create your character and bring your character up. There's a chapter 4 is about personality and backgrounds, the languages. All this is pretty much self-explanatory, so I'm not going to really get into it. Inspiration, how you gain it, backgrounds. We talked about backgrounds before, so I'm not going to get into that either. Most of what it takes to create the character, I'm not really going to go over today. And I may do it again some other time, but I'm not today. The prices of things and that. Now, here's what I'm going to say about feats, okay? Feats, when you get the 4th level, you get to do a couple things, all right? You get to add, and it's actually in each character class. It'll tell you, okay, look, a sorcerer, you get to 4th level. Oh, look, 4th level, ability score improvement. Okay, now, some dungeon masters will use the feats, okay, F-E-A-T-S. And what that does is basically represents a talent. I'm just going to read straight out the book. Or an area of expertise that gives a character special capabilities. It basically embodies training, experience, and abilities that beyond what a class provides. Okay, so at 4th level, if you're using the option rule, instead of an ability score improvement, you can actually forego that and take a feat of your choice. Now, a couple things that you need to know. Feats can only be taken once, so you can't take charger twice to get double. Okay? It's something that there are prerequisites for some of them. And most importantly, it'll depend on whether your dungeon master allows them or not. Okay, that's the big thing. I don't like the way that looks behind me. I'm going to move these out of the way. There. All right, there we go. All right. Now, so that's very, very important. That's the first thing I want to say about feats. Some campaigns are set up that they can allow players to take feats. Some campaigns, the game master does not want you to have feats. So it's completely up to you. AAA, are you okay out there? Were you able to reboot okay? All right. So that's what I'm going to say about feats. I'm not going to go into them because they're an optional part of the game. All right. Now, this is something that we talked about, advantage and disadvantage. All right. So, and we're going to talk about it a little bit more in depth in just a second, but advantage and disadvantage is where, and it can occur. A lot of people say, "Oh, it occurs when you've got somebody flanked in front and back." Okay, that is true. You get advantage on attack, but that's just one part of it. Okay, advantage is basically anytime the dungeon master says, "Hey, you know what? Okay, for instance, Elric, you're quite. First of all, you have a dragon background. You're quite proficient in the knowledge, rituals, the language of the dragon, of the draconic ways. Go ahead and roll with advantage to see if you can find out the lore of this ancient dragon text or this ancient dragon sword or whatever it may be, because he has so much. He is in his background and the way he plays his character and his knowledge of things are very. He knows a lot about the draconic. How to put it, culture, let's say, that I decide to give him an advantage. So he'll roll 2d20, all right? We'll roll 2d20, let's see. In my tower here, I got a 1 and a 16. Well, good thing I'm rolling with advantage. Antonio rolled a 50. All righty then. Antonio rolled a 50. Don't ask. Listen, I'm just reading what he rolled. You don't get the roll of 50. It only goes up to 20. Antonio. So I rolled a 16. I took the advantage, so I rolled a 16. I add my knowledge, my skill, whatever, and it comes out to, let's say, a 19. Okay. So I talk to him. I tell him what he's learned, this, that, the other. Now, rolling with disadvantage sometimes for whatever reason. Okay. You may be your leg may be hurt. You may have lost, use of an arm for whatever reason. You're trying to do something where you're at a disadvantage. Now you're going to roll the same 2 dice. And I rolled an 11 and a 16. Now, luckily, I rolled pretty high. So I have to dump the 16. I got to keep the 11. All right. And there's different circumstances. It's completely up to your dungeon masters what those circumstances are going to be. It could be, and in the book, it kind of goes into it, so I'm not going to really reiterate everything. But you're usually gain advantages through the use of special abilities, actions, or spells. All right. Inspiration can also give a character advantage. Yes, it can. You can take your inspiration point and use it to roll with advantage. All right. So there. That's that. What I did want to check is something that they had asked me is about ability checks. Okay. On page 174 of the player's handbook, it goes through every ability check. So you got your skills, strength. It actually lists everything that's under athletics, dexterity, acrobatics, intelligence, arcana, history. Wisdom, animal handling, insight, and charisma is deception and intimidation. And then it talks about the passive checks and then how each ability is used. Hey, Willie, welcome to the show. Okay, Sarah rolled a 51. All righty then. We'll use percentage dice now, I see. Okay. Actually, there is a 100-sided die that could happen on, but we are not rolling that for initiative. Could you imagine that? Rolling a D100 for initiative? Whoa! Just kidding. That's not what you use. Use the D20. Just throwing that out there. Crazy. All right. So strength. And it talks about the strength test. The athletics checks actually describes it. But this is where you want to go. And this is why I have it highlighted, marked in my book. Okay. So I can get to it because that's actually an important page. What does this skill actually, what am I trying to do? And sometimes not everything's going to be in here. Like tracking. All right. For tracking, what we do as we go to charisma, or excuse me, listen to me. Oh my gosh, to wisdom, which has a survival. All right. So survival, the DM might ask you to make a wisdom check to follow tracks. There it is. So if I want to track somebody, there it is. Bam. I mean, if you have a mega battle royale, have lots of players, the D100 might be the way to go. That's for a different show, though. That's definitely for a different show. So there you go. Under survival, we would do that. Hunt wild game, guide your group through frozen wastelands, identify the signs that albergers live nearby, predict the weather, or avoid quicksand and other natural hazards. That's the way that survival role and tracking is grouped up under survival. All right. So that's the way that works. So I have a skill. I want to look at something. I use tracking, for instance. It's under survival. I look at my survival roll. I roll my D20. And I got an 18 plus whatever my roll, maybe let's call it just a 3. I rolled a 21. That's a pretty good roll. All right, so that's the way these all work. Perception is a big one, which is also under wisdom. And it's done the same thing. Now, this is what I need to answer. The investigation versus insight. Okay. On page 178, it actually literally describes the difference between the two. And it's important to know the difference between the two. And I'm gonna kind of use perception because the three of them are closely related, but aren't quite the same. So here we go. Investigation. When you look around for clues and make deductions based on those clues, you make an intelligence investigation check. You might deduce the location of a hidden object. Okay. Discern from the appearance of a wound what kind of weapon dealt it, or determine the weakest point in a tunnel that could cause it to collapse. Pouring through ancient scrolls in search of a hidden fragment of knowledge might also call for an intelligence investigation check. Okay, so that's investigation. All right. I'm looking for a hidden object, something that is not visible to the naked eye. Okay, that's investigation. Now I want to go into insight. This is a wisdom insight check. Decides whether you can determine the true intentions of a creature, such as when searching out a lie or predicting someone's next move. Doing so involves gleaning clues from body language, speech habits, and changes in mannerism. So the difference there is that the investigation is for inanimate. I'm looking for something hidden. What weapon made this wound? All right, I made it. Whoa, hey, Donna, welcome to the show. All right, so that's your investigation. Now, when I'm dealing with a person and I want to see if are they being honest, is there something I can tell that gives away a mannerism that they have? Then we're looking at insight because we're looking into something. And they're both like investigative, but one is done on an object in an area, whereas the other is done on a person. Now, yes, looking for a wound, and this is where it kind of, I'm looking for the wound. Wouldn't that be an insight to check to see what made it? No, it'd be they have it classified as investigation. Now, that's not to say that a DM might not allow you to use. That's completely up to them. Remember, these are the guidelines. I'm just telling you straight out the book. So it's a physical versus a psychological. Yes, that'd probably be the best way to do it. The physical aspect being the investigation. Hey, I'm here. Okay, I'm looking for my one particular die. I'm looking for it. I'm physically looking in the tower. I'm looking in my bag. Now, I'm looking to see if I can't find it. Now it's like, well, who took it? So now I'm going to talk to some people. Well, I can't go digging through their pockets, right? That'd be bad. But I can ask them certain questions and see how they react. That's insight. Hopefully that will help a little bit. Now, perception, this is the other one that kind of, because you are kind of looking around to see what's going on. So let me read to you perception, because this is kind of, your wisdom perception check lets you spot, hear, or otherwise detect the presence of something. Now listen to that. And I know, well, if I'm looking for a hidden object, couldn't I use my perception? Hey, and here's Danny.
Listen to that, all right? This guy knows, all right?
That's my boy Danny.
If he says you listen to it, you listen to it.
Yeah, exactly. You're all right with me.
I think somebody's favorite color is purple, John.
Hey. I don't know who.
Hey, Donna, hey, Antonio, hey, Sarah, Willie.
Yep. Willie's on there. Yep, he's running around. Thanks for coming out. I love it when they pop in. See, I tell you, that's half the fun of the show. It's not scripted. People pop in and out. It's awesome. That was Danny. He helps run this crazy place, and he does a great job. Donna said, hey, Danny. Yes. All right, so back to perception. So it lets you check, spot, hear, or otherwise detect the presence of something. Now, there's the important part. That's something that's always been fuzzy to me, even after all this time. But I have always just gone with the flow and picked or the other. Thanks for addressing this and clearing up. Oh, you're welcome. And you're not the only one. Let me tell you something. When they started separating things like this, those two, these three, actually, I lumped the three of them together because, like I said, perception, a lot of people spot, hear, or otherwise detect the presence of something. It measures your general awareness of your surroundings and the keenness of your senses. Now, okay, a lot of people have wondered why perception is not used to spot something, like a hidden object, a hidden trap, things like that. Because, yes, you're perceiving it, but in perception, because you're using your, and I know you're using your sight, don't get me wrong, but when I'm trying to spot something, it's something moving in the bushes. I'm not investigating it yet. I'm just I'm over here 10, 15, 20, 30 feet away, and something's moving in the bushes. And I'm trying to discern what is that. I'm trying to perceive, what am I looking at? A noise. I hear a noise somewhere. I'm trying to perceive, what did I hear? I haven't gone to investigate it yet. I don't even know where it's coming from. I'm going down a dark hallway, a dark dungeon hallway, and I hear maybe something fall. Okay, now, it was far enough away. Can I make it out? I'm going to make a perception roll. All right. Luckily, what did I get? I got a 14, which isn't bad. I'll add 4 to that. Now I'm at an 18. I might possibly have been able to, hey, Spidey senses, kind of, yes. That's a good way of putting it. Spidey senses. That's a good one. So now, was that a shield that just dropped? Was it a spear falling? Was it someone dropping a sword? Was it the clash of swords? That's where perception it comes into being. And I know it's a fine line. Now, and I think the confusion comes that some game masters will allow you to use your perception for a lot more. And that's where that whole overdrop. So if you drew like 3 circles, right? I think there's a point that all 3 circles could intertwine into a small, and for people, you see this a lot in like size. You'll have a circle here, and a third circle. And where those 3 circles meet, that is the one shared attribute that all these, whatever these are, have. And I think that you could literally do that with these 3. And it has been done. I've even been guilty of doing it. Not guilty. I sometimes want this for the sake of the storyline. If I want something found, a Venn diagram. Thank you, Donna. Yes. Here, I'll draw it for you. In fact, see, this is why players, we're going to talk about this, what's this, but I'm just going to kind of draw this for you. So here's a circle. Here's a circle. There's a circle. Okay. It would look like this. All right. It's here. All right. So there are the 3 circles. All right. We got perception, we have insight, investigation, perception. That part right here. This part right there. That's where that intersection I was talking about, where they all overlap. And they all overlap. You can see that they overlap here, and they can overlap here and here. But here, all 3 meet. And that's the part that I'm talking about, okay? All right, so, and that's okay, by the way. Like I said, there are times that I will, and my players will attest to this, I will sit there and go through 2 or 3 different skills that I want people to be able to use. And sometimes if somebody has a specific skill, I might give them advantage. If they don't, I might give them disadvantage. I might just let them know. Donna, I also think that the difference between persuasion and deception confuses some people. Okay, you know what? We're going to get to that. I'm glad you brought that up because that's coming up in this discussion too. So I hope that kind of helped you. Now, there's an example here for perception before I go on to the deception and persuasion. All right. For example, this is talking about perception. For example, you might try to hear conversations through a closed door, eavesdrop under an open window, or hear monsters moving stealthily in the forest. Or you might try to spot things that are obscured or easy to miss, whether the orcs lying in ambush on a road, things hiding in the shadows of an alley, or candlelight under a closed secret door. See, that's where perception really comes in. All right, so that's you're kind of using your sciences, kind of like Spidey senses. Whereas in the other one, you're actually looking for something physically. In the other one, you're trying to see what somebody's really what their true intentions are. Okay, so let's do it like that: the physical, the psychological, and then the senses. All right, hopefully that will help. Now, That since you brought it up, that's a wonderful thing. The persuasion, okay, and they're both under charisma. That's the other thing too. They're both charisma checks. You have deception, and here's the other thing: you have deception, intimidation, and persuasion. Now, deception, that's pretty self-explanatory. You're just trying to make something appear like it's not, or you're trying to deceive somebody in some way, whether with forged documents or impersonating somebody else. The other two, though, intimidation. I'm just going to read you what it is. Intimidation. When you attempt to influence, and here's the big thing: influence someone through overt threats. Overt threats. If you don't do this, I'm going to kill you. Hostile actions, putting a sword up to their neck. Or physical violence, you punch them a couple times, and then you talk to them. The DM might ask you to make a charisma intimidation check. Examples include trying to... pry information out of a prisoner, convincing street thugs to back down from a confrontation, or using the edge of a broken bottle to convince a sneering vizier to reconsider a decision. Okay, well, I did it a little different, but you get the point, right? Now, that's intimidation. All right? You can also intimidate somebody by surrounding them with your biggest guys. If you have a half-orc in the party, letting them breathe right in their face, think with their tusks hanging. I mean, that's just intimidating. Now, persuasion, by the other hand, is when you attempt to influence someone or a group of people with tact, social graces, or good nature. Big difference. Opposite extremes, but they get confused. Okay? With intimidation, there's nothing nice about it. You're either threatening them, you're putting a knife up to their throat, you're surrounding them with your biggest guys. They're holding one maybe fingering, your thief maybe, your rogue maybe fingering a dagger. Your barbarian might be sitting there sitting down, sharpening his battle axe, that kind of thing. Okay. Whereas here now, typically you use persuasion when acting in good faith to foster friendships, make cordial requests, or exhibit proper etiquette. Examples of persuading others include convincing a chamberlain to let your party see the king, negotiating between warring tribes, or inspiring a crowd of townsfolk. Okay, well, that's the extreme end. Hey, love, you made it. Welcome to the show. So, once again, intimidation, it's like, wow, you are literally the knife at the throat, whereas now I'm trying to persuade somebody, and I go, look, this would be for the benefit of your group, and just insert whatever, whether it's the royal court, something as big as a royal court, that chamberlain, or something as simple as just a merchant. It would be great that to your benefit that we travel with you. Hey, how are you? That we travel with you, because it will provide more security. We're both going in that direction anyway, so why not hire us to sit there and act as your guards? I mean, you have very few guards. The roads have been very dangerous. A lot of bandit attacks, a lot of rogue raiding by orcs and goblins in the area. How about it? I mean, we're a seasoned adventuring party, and we're in it the same way. We help you, you help us. It's a win-win situation. I'm trying to persuade them. The opposite side of that is, well, we ain't even get it. I kind of gave you an example of that. Okay, so for a rogue dealing with traps, first would be investigation for checking for the traps. Then what would they use for disabling? That's under stealth. Nimble. Oh my gosh. Nimble, listen to me. Hold on. I can't, off the top of my head, look at that. Blah, blah, blah. Yeah, because I saw the 3.5. That would go under sleight of hand. Yeah, I was right. Nimble fingers. No, sleight of hand. The actual removal of the trap goes on to something totally different, which is a physical thing, which is this under stealth disabling traps. Okay, all that's sleight of hand. Excuse me, not even stealth. Sleight of hand. Oh my gosh! So sleight of hand. That's what it would be. That's what you would get for that. I kind of jumped off. I had to think fast. But I hope that helped with the. What do you think, Donna? Was that a good explanation of intimidation and persuasion there? Are we good with that? What do we think? Gang, help me out here. Was that a good explanation? Yes, no? How do we feel about the investigation, the insight, the perception, and the intimidation and persuasion? Are we good? Do I need to delve into it a little bit more? because those are great questions. These actually came up. Okay, you love it? All right, so we're good. I'm going to move on then, all right? Okay, now, of course, yeah, I got another one. I got another one highlighted. Okay, well, thank you. And those are 2 dungeon masters, by the way, everybody. You see these comments and their questions that they're asking in that and their feedback. The reason I'm asking is because Donna runs a game here every Wednesday for about a group of 8 or 9 people. Antonio's running a game. His group, he took over that big group I keep telling you about, that 10 to 12, 13 sometimes. That's his group that he runs. So they're dungeon masters. And the others are all players that are on right now. So it's good to get the feedback from both sides, and keep things in perspective. Perspective. All right. So now the other thing is that I was asked about, seeing, I highlighted it because it's important, is what can we do while we're adventuring, okay? And I'm just going to kind of go through this because it's actually chapter 8 of the Player's Handbook, adventuring. Time goes by. Time is really in the game. If I take, okay, so it's going to take you a day to get there. Do you guys want to do anything particular? I might have them camp. Will they get attacked or not? Sometimes I have it pre-planned. Sometimes I don't. I work it into the experience that we talked about. But so you guys, if they want to do something during camp, if it's important to them, it's important to me. I don't force them. We could go right past the camping if we wanted to. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. But my feedback to you is that where's the chuleta at? That's Willie Arepa, my brother. I'll tell you what. What disrespect talking about my chuletas. A chuleta is a pork chop. I told you all that last week. Okay. Oh, talking about that. I'm glad you brought up chuleta. Do you see how my mind works? Now we're going to jump to something totally different. Next Friday, unfortunately. Well, fortunately enough, I will not have the Dungeon Corner will not run. I will be in Georgia for the Memorial Day weekend, meeting my brother who's coming down from New York. Just a big group of us, family, friends. We're all going to invade Atlanta. We're going to go to Six Flags over Atlanta on Friday and get crazy with it. But the chuleta thing is all about the Red Fair. I'll talk with you guys about this, right? Atlanta Red Fair's got these awesome pork chops. Chuletas on a stick is what we call them, in arepas. And we got this cool menu I told you about. So, but anyway, next Friday, there will not be a Dungeon Corner. I may do it on Wednesday. In fact, I may come here Wednesday and record it Wednesday. All right. So everybody knows that I will do it. It just won't be on Friday. I'll do it like that last time I did it on Thursday during that tournament. So there you go. Okay. See, chuletas for the win. All right. So time, movement. It talks about movement, the speed, the travel pace, forest marches, mounts and vehicles. I'm going to go through this just so that you know where it's at. It's in chapter 8, adventuring. What I do want to talk about, though, and here it is, activity while traveling, marching orders, stealths. Okay, so marching orders are important, especially in dungeons where you're in single file. Okay, and it helps with who's in front, who's in back. If you don't have a physical, you write it down in the order everybody's traveling in. Because of initiative, you won't be in Florida on Thursday either. Oh no, I won't. We're headed out. Thank you, Antonio. So it will be Wednesday. Wednesday, I will do the show. I'll come in and do the show on Wednesday, and it'll be there for next week. All right. Thank you. So marching order is important. You can draw. This is one reason I brought the graph paper. Okay. Sometimes when you're navigating, you can draw paper. Listen, you can draw a map. You do not have to be a cartographer in order to draw a map. It's nice to sometimes draw that map, especially in dungeons or in caves and stuff. It doesn't have to be perfect. I mean, in a dungeon, it's easy because I can tell, and Tony will tell you that. How big is this room? Okay, well, this hallway is 5 feet, 10 feet wide, and it runs 40 feet, and it turns out to the right. So he'll draw that. Then he run into a room. There's a door. It's a double door, and it leads when you open it. How big is the room? The room's 30 by 40. Okay, and you can draw the dungeon as you go. All right. So graph paper is a wonderful thing. You saw me just, hey, how are you? So I kind of just drew that to show you that I can make notes on it as I need to. Graph paper is wonderful. All right. Wonderful, wonderful tool to have. Now, following suffocating, going to that vision. It talks about lightly obscured, heavily bright day, dim light, darkness, blind sight, dark vision. Goes into all that. Okay. This is what I wanted to get into. Food and water. And I'm kind of going through this because this is what I've been kind of collecting all the questions for the players to talk about on one particular day. All right, so here we go. Food. A character needs 1 pound of water per day and can make food last longer by subsisting on half rations. Okay. And it goes into what it does. Water, you need 1 gallon per day. Some DMs make a big deal out of it. Some of them don't. Donna says there are millions of free and cheap maps available, so I personally will never draw a map. Well, you're a dungeon master. I'm talking about the players, Donna. You have the map. What, do you provide a copy to your players? Well, actually, yes, I have. If it's someplace, if it goes with the storyline. But I'm talking about the ones that have not. Okay? I love it. See, this is what happens. All right, so interacting with objects, that's just however it may be. Social interaction, we've talked about the role-playing aspect, and that goes into this also. Role-playing, I'm not really going to get into all this, but the part about drawing the map and the resting, it's all in here. Okay, that's the one big thing. Chapter 8 adventuring, read it. Go through it. Resting. Talks about the short rest as opposed to, okay, let's go through this. Short rest. All right, short rest is a period of downtime at least 1 hour long. So there you go. It's 1 hour long. It can be 2 hours, whatever you think you need. That you need to rest, time to sleep and eat, treat your wounds, refresh your mind, spiritual spellcasting, and brace themselves for further adventure. You can take short rest in the midst of a day and a long rest to end it. So you can take a couple of short rests. It's about an hour. Sometimes you can. Sometimes you're not going to be able to. Certain things, depending on your class, will reset at a short rest. Some require a long rest. That's depending on the character class and that. So I'm not going to get into that. That's a part of your... Sarah says, I think it was eye-opening for some of the people in our group when you made us go through what needs to happen when we camp. Oh, yes. Yes, and I try to do that so people really understand that, setting the watches, who needs to sleep for 8 hours as opposed to some who sleep only 4 hours, who has dark vision, who does not. I mean, there's a lot of things that go into making camp that are just, wow, you're like, whoa, time out. Who's going to be cooking? Because you don't know when you're going to be attacked. And I know that sounds trivial, but if you're cooking, are you cooking in your full plate armor? Are you in your full chainmail when you're cooking? Where's your sword and shield? It adds an element to the game, and this is kind of like a game master player because the players need to be aware that this may be a part of the game that may come up, and you kind of got to think it through. Okay, so while I'm cooking, my character's doing the cooking. Luckily, I wear leather armor. It's not a big deal if I cook in my leather armor. Now, the cleric who's in full chainmail, the fighter who's in full plate, carrying a shield and 3 or 4 swords. Okay, especially when you're dealing with horses in a cart. I think people forget. Yes, they're in the mines of Fendelver. It's a basic module. Yes, that's what I'm running because it's a beginner group. Sarah's the most experienced player in it. It's a lot of fun for them. They're having a good time, and they're having to deal with these things. A cart and horse. I mean, what happens during camp? When you're in camp, what do you do with that cart? What do you do with the horse? There's supplies in there that you're guarding. So you can't just say, they're just going to hang out. You got to take the horses off. You got to brush them down. You got to feed them. You got to water them, especially if you plan on using them the next day, right? So there's a lot of things. But who does that? Well, that's a good question. Who has to handle animals? See what I'm saying? So a lot of skills that you think, and DMs and players, this is where a lot of those skills that you think you're never going to use come into being. Handle animal. The horses have to be treated. So, okay, so now let's say that character, one character is doing that. Feeding the horses, brushing them down, taking them off of the wagon or the cart and putting them somewhere safe. Maybe they build a little compound with rope out of their pack. So there's a lot of things already. This is just one person. The other person's getting ready to cook dinner. All right. Who's guarding? There's only 5 or 6 people in the party. So now somebody's got to be paying attention so somebody doesn't walk into the camp, right? Okay. So that's the camping experience. Building tents, laying out there, building the fire. Woo. Anyway, don't get me started on that one, right? So long rest. A long rest is an extended downtime. Okay. It's at least 8 hours long. during which a character sleeps for at least 6 hours and performs no more than 2 hours of light activity, such as reading, talking, eating, or standing watch. If the rest is interrupted by a period of strenuous activity, at least 1 hour of walking, fighting, casting, the character must begin to rest again. So there's the difference. Okay, so short rest and a long rest, if it's uninterrupted, then guess what? You get 6 hours of sleep, boom, all year long, every day requires a long rest is now back. If it gets interrupted, and it's an hour, so listen, gang, combat does not take that long. You can finish a combat in like minutes. You can go back to sleep. It's if you're not able to go back to sleep, you're going to be tired the next day. You're going to be fatigued. Sarah says, it's been a great learning experience for everyone. I haven't been the most seasoned veteran before, so it is interesting for me to learning to be a leader. But at the same time, I have to sit back and let them make some mistakes too, so that they learn from. We all have gone through the trials and successes. Yep, that's true. That's true. Being a leader, and I'm actually going to take a Friday to talk about the leader of the group and how to balance all that, because it's not as easy as you think. You're not supposed to be making all the decisions. You're not supposed to be leading. Sometimes you don't even lead from the front, depending on what class you are. I've seen amazing wizards that are leaders, amazing leaders, tactical geniuses, strategical geniuses, and they're not on the front line. I've seen the ones that lead from the front, like the paladins and the fighters, who are good strategically, know how to place everybody. They've worked together as a group enough that, which is why Antonio is one player who almost always ends up leading a party. And he's come back from that. He's like, okay, I lead every party. No, not anymore. So, but we're going to talk about that's a whole separate thing there. Okay, so now let's talk about between adventures. Somebody, like I said, they asked about it. Lifestyle expenses, downtime activities, crafting, practicing a profession, recuperating, researching, training. I'm not going to really get into it. I want you to be aware, even when I say no, thank you. Yeah, Antonio says, yeah, that's true. But these downtime activities, and this is what I was talking about that have been asked, are here on page 187 of Player's Handbook. You got to have a book, I'm telling you. There is no substitute for having this book. Yes, there are expenses, and that's in chapter 5, but AAA want to be co-leaders in the next campaign. I don't want to do it by myself. Yeah, it can become something else depending on the players too. So, but researching, training, there's a lot that you can do between the sessions, and it's a lot of this has to do with your game master. Do they want to get into downtime activities? Do they want to know? It's something that I'm slowly incorporating because right now with a big party like I have at home, it's like 9 players, 10 players. So it's hard, but I've got the website set up for it. And we're going to talk about it now that they're second level. Most of the time I'm more worried about making sure everybody understands what they're doing, that they're familiar with their characters, that they understand the mechanics, not only of the game, but of their character. That there's a nice melding, that they feel comfortable for it. So at first level, we worry about playing the game. That's it. Now that they're second level, because they've actually got it at second level, now's where we're going to get into the nitty-gritty of, okay, so we're going to have this session, we're going to play, we're done, we're back in town. Okay, everybody send me your downtime. Here's what we can do between the adventures. What are you going to do? What do you want to do? Do you want to go find some stuff? Do you want to go shopping? So when we sit down, and I'll have sent back the emails, but that's, like I said, that's something. And this is interesting. Okay, so how to make more money between sections. You can work between adventures, allowing you to maintain a modest lifestyle without having to pay the 1 gold piece per day. This benefit lasts as long as you continue to practice your profession. So if you pick up a profession, let's say like barrister, that's a lawyer back then, but let's forget about that one. Let's say you're an armorer. That's a profession. So if you go back to town and you set up a little shop, or you're an apprentice somewhere, there you go. I want shiny things. That would make you a lapidary, a jeweler lapidary. A lapidary cuts the gems in that and puts them in. Anyway, I'm getting off topic. Sarah, stop. No shiny things for you. As a new player, I have troubles knowing what to do during downtime that benefits me. Well, that's something we're going to talk about at second level, love. I've been waiting because at first level, I really want people to focus. Like I said, I want people to focus on their characters. Let's figure out what our character can and can't do, where I want to go with it, and then we'll go from there. One of my players from the campaign that I was running is kind of on hiatus right now. Went ahead and I said, well, they listened when I said, look at where you want your character to go at 4th level. When you get those ability stats or anytime that something major happens in your character, like at 3rd level for some, they get their colleges for a bard and so on and so forth. Sleep, eat, drink, catnip. All righty then. There is that. And shiny things, of course. Can't forget the shiny things. Oh my gosh. All right. Let's talk about, okay. I'm going to kind of jump out because this is good. I kind of planned maybe this to be as long as the last one, which was about an hour. But let's talk about, I'm going to have to do something like a whole thing on just, I'll do that. We'll talk about that. The order combat. Okay. That's not really what I'm going to talk about. Really what I want to talk about, which they asked me is, I would like to, no, you can't do that. Well, that's something, that's the, not if you're any kind of good character or neutral character. Good grief, Donna. All right, so quickly, the order combat. And you'll see what we'll get into. Surprise. I like this. It's combat step by step. All right, determine surprise, establish positions, roll initiative, take turns, begin the next round. That's it. That's really all there is to combat. But here we go. We roll the initiative. When you come to your turn, there's a bunch of actions that you can take. Okay. I like this. It's on page 189. Okay. And it talks about all movement and position and all that kind of thing. But let's talk about your actions in combat. I have this neat little sheet here. You can download this. It's online. It's in the book. You can attack. You can make a melee or ranged attack. Extra attack, feature of the fighter, allow you to make more than one attack. But you can attack. I'm just going to go with the basics. Attack. You can cast a spell. A cantrip or a spell 1st level or higher. There are, a bonus action. There are bonus spells that you can cast as a bonus action. But right now, these are your basics. Dash. Dash means that, okay, so I can make my full movement. Let's say, I move 30 feet. I move by 30 feet and I go, wow, I really can't get to him. So I'm going to dash. Now I can move up to another 30 feet of my movement. Okay. Disengage. If I'm in combat and I'm like, ooh, I'm getting beat up, I got to back up a little bit and get over there and get healed. I can disengage. It doesn't provoke any opportunities of attack for the rest of the turn. So now I can go over by my healer and go, help me, help me, help me, help me. Okay, I can dodge until starting your next turn. Any attack roll made against you has disadvantage. That's how if you want to kind of hold your spot, you want to hold your position. You don't want to move. You go, okay, I'm going to dodge. I'm going to take my action dodge. Those sneaky goblins have disengaged too. Indeed, they do. And hide, which is another. We'll get into that one. Okay, so they're going to make on that one. So they're going to have disadvantage to attack me. And I'm going to make this dexterity saving throws with advantage. Okay, so that's pretty cool. Help. You can help one creature with a task, giving that creature advantage on the next ability check if it makes for that task. Or you distract one creature within 5 feet of you, and the next attack roll that an ally of yours makes against that creature has advantage. So there's a lot of cool things that you can do that a lot of people don't think about. Whichever option you choose, the advantage goes away once used or when your next turn starts. So I can go, oh man, they're having a problem getting that door open. I'm going to go help them. Now they have advantage. Hey, how are you? Well, they now have advantage on whatever it is they're doing because I'm helping them. Or I'm sitting and I start throwing rocks or something at a creature. I go, well, hey, why not? And it gives that player, because the fighter has a much better chance to hit him than I do. Pow. Now they have advantage. And here comes the one that Sarah's talking about. Hide. You can make a dexterity stealth check and attempt to become hidden, unseen, and unheard. Okay? And yes, goblins have the ability to disengage or hide. Yes, it's kind of crazy. Improvise. You can do something not covered by any of the other actions, such as crashing into the door, intimidating a foe, or calling for a parlay. The DM will let you know what kind of roll you need to make, if any, to determine the success or failure. There you go. Ready. Now this is another one that you don't see. When I ready my action, I have to state, and a couple people have done this, what particular circumstance before you act. So you're gonna, okay, so can you explain what holding your initiative? Yeah, that's where I'm at. I know that players often forget that they can do it, and when they remember, they forget all the parts. So here we go. When you ready your action, so let's say I'm at the front of the initiative. I'm gonna talk about something. Do I have enough time? I might have enough time. We're gonna see. Okay, so I'm going to hold my action. I'm going to ready an action because there's nobody in the hallway. But I know we made a perception check earlier. We know there's somebody coming down the hallway. Well, obviously, I can't do anything yet. So I'm going to ready my action for a particular circumstance before you act, which lets you act using your reaction before the start of your next turn. You must decide in advance, A, what perceivable circumstance will trigger your action and the action you will take in response to that trigger. Okay, so here's my ready. As soon as somebody walks into the hallway and takes a step in, I'm going to fire my arrow, my crossbow, throw my spell, advance and attack. Okay, there it is. That's it right there. I just did it all. So I said, what circumstance will trigger my reaction? The circumstances, they walked into the hallway. They're in the hallway. They walked into the room. They came down the stairs. All right. B, the action that I will take. I'm going to shoot my crossbow. I'm going to shoot my arrow. I'm going to cast a certain spell. All right. I'm going to move. I'm going to attack them. I'm going to move to attack. All right. Does that kind of explain it? All right. And that triggers, as soon as that happens, that triggers. Okay, that's the way that works. Now, what do you guys think? Is that a good explanation? Sarah, you asked that question. That's why I'm kind of going over this. Did that kind of answer the question pretty well? So the phrase would be, I'm readying my action so that when the person comes around the corner, I will do exactly. That's it. That's actually it. And then, listen, now here's the thing. As a player, there's a little bit more responsibility on you than it is on me. You said, I'm going to ready my crossbow. As soon as somebody comes around the corner, I'm going to shoot them with my crossbow. Okay, good. Now, if we're moving along in the combats or in the initiative, I'm doing this, and the creature comes around the corner and you forget that you readied an action, you got to remember what you did with your readying of the action, okay? Because the DM's got monsters to deal with, an initiative of like 5 to 6 players normally. In the case of the home game, I have like 9 or 10, a couple of them online. So players, and this is why I'm telling you this, it's your responsibility. If you want to take that action, don't wait till almost the next start or the end of the initiative. Go, oh, wait, because that should have triggered. The importance of paying attention even when it's not your turn. Yes, if you're on your computer, if you're on your cell phone, if you're having a conversation and things go by you, they just went by you. Sorry. That's the way my game actually runs. Because you're supposed to be paying attention at what's going on. I mean, if you're literally your character, if you go, okay, well, you know what? I'm going to sit here and wait until somebody comes around that corner and I'm going to shoot them. And you're over here with the rogue going, well, you know, I don't know. What did you think about that magical item? Oh, well, I would have liked to have found something that was a little bit, and they come around and the combat starts and you're still talking. Oh, okay. What happened to my initiative? Well, I don't know. You were busy talking to the rogue. I don't know what happened. You were looking in your bag of holding for whatever it was you were looking for. I have no idea. That's the way it works, gang. Okay. Search. You can make a wisdom, perception check, or intelligence investigation check to find something. Now, see, even in the game, that's that duality. Remember that part that I showed you that crosses over? I'm at it. Oh, I'm back. Are we good? Sorry about that. DMs aren't babysitters. That's right. I don't know what happened there, but I'm back. I might have pushed something. Let me get away from that. All right. So search. I think we went over that. Okay. Use of a magical item. The use of a magic item that requires your action for its use. Some magical items don't require, can be used as bonus actions. So that's in the description of the magic item. But that, use an object. You can use an object other than the magic item that requires your action for its use. A scroll. No, a scroll would be considered a magic item. Other items. Oh, you want to sit there and throw a grappling hook up over. You want to throw a grappling hook up over a wall to try and climb up out of here. Okay. Other activity on your turn. You can include a variety of flourishes that require neither your action nor your move. Okay. So you can communicate. And actually, this lists movement and position interacting with objects around you. Here, for example, the sorts of you can do in tandem with your movement and action. They're listed on 190. Okay, 190. Now, let's talk about your movement. And I think that's where I'm going to close. Movement. And it tells you here, you have 30 feet. All right. So you could actually, you have 30 feet to move. So I can run. Let's say, okay, oh my gosh, the board is down. I run over there. I move over. I move 15 feet. Okay. Feed him a potion. Now that's going to be my action because I've done something interactive with someone else. All right. So I fed him a potion to heal them, or I healed them, whatever. That's my action. But remember, I only use 15 feet to get to the bard. So now I got another 15 feet that I can still move. Okay. So now I move over here and help. Now, and this is players. This is a little tip for you. If I got all purple dice, that's so funny. Okay, this is the monster. Okay, my bard friend went down. The fighter's engaging this monster. I ran over. I walked over 15 feet, and I fed the bard a potion. I have 15 feet left. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take my 15 feet, and now I'm on the other side. When the fighter goes to attack, he's going to get advantage. They're going to get advantage because we are on both sides of the monster. We are flanking the monster. He will. The fighter will now get advantage on their attack to attack that creature. So don't just let movement just go to waste, because there's a lot of things that you can do. Even with bonus. Oh, let me go ahead and get into that. One more thing. I'm sorry. There's so much to this. There were so many questions I wanted to answer today, and that were asked that it's just like an entire day. But I got a few more minutes. I can do a few more minutes without. Okay, so bonus actions. Oh boy, there's a lot you can do for bonus action. You can make a second attack. You can drink a potion yourself. You can. Oh my. There's just a lot, and some DMs, and I don't want to get into a lot of it because they'll sit there and. How to put it? They will decide what you can and can't do, even though it may be in the rules. They may. It's just some things you got to talk to your DM. That bonus action, there's a lot you can do with it. Like in my game, I allow a player to drink a potion as a bonus action because they're doing it with themselves and still be able to take an action. Whereas if they feed it, like I said, to another player, that's actually an action. You can, and in here, and there's things that you can do. By the way, for all of you who are dual wielders or are trying to do several things, switching out your weapons, there are certain things that you can do while you're moving or an action. So draw a sheath of sword. 1. Open and close a door. Withdraw a potion from your backpack. Pick up a drop axe. Take a bauble. There's a whole list of stuff. Pull a torch from a sconce. Don a mask. Pull the hood of your cloak up over your head. Put your ear to a door. Turn a key in a lock. Hand an item to another character. These are all things that you can do in tandem. Now, dual wielders. You want to put your 2 swords away. Some DMs will allow you to do that. Okay, you put them away. There's that thing called draw or sheath. Draw or sheath. So I sheath my weapons. Okay, that's no big deal. Now I want to pull out my bow and get it ready because I'm coming around the corner. Bonus action. You got one, right? It's a bonus action. You can even attack with a bonus action as a secondary, but there's a penalty that you don't get your modifier to damage. So basically, you're just swinging to hit with whatever you hit. But aside from that, that's how you sheath 2 weapons. It says that I can do it. Sheath a sword. Okay, so it's a dual wielder. They know how to like dritz, shoot, however you do them. And then as your bonus action, hey, I now pull out my crossbow. Nothing wrong with that. You get a bonus action. Remember that. That's how you can do that. Changing the weapons when you're trying to put a weapon away and bring a different weapon out. Got to use that bonus action. Okay, so I ran a little long today, but that's okay because there's a lot that goes into this. I answered all the questions and a few more that I wanted to today. The graph paper, listen, just real quick. I think paper, period. I mean, you can draw squares, and people go, well, what if I don't have graph paper? You know what? You can always just draw. Here we go. I'll just use a piece of paper here. You can just take a piece of paper, and even if it's this small, I can draw out a dungeon. I'm going to do this really quick, just so you guys can kind of have an idea of what I'm talking about. Okay, watch. I'll show you what I did here. So this is going to be a let me just do something real quick so I can show you. Okay, so with no paper, let's say I'm in a dungeon and I need to draw something quick because I want to remember how to do it. Here it is. All right, see those little numbers there? There it is. So we start in a 20 by 20 room. There's a hallway goes down to a 30 by 30 room. There's another door there that leads to another room. And I can write down how long the hallways are, but whatever. To a, what was this one? What did I make that one? 10 by 10 foot room. That's a guardhouse. Oh, look, we discovered a secret door that goes down to another 10 by 10 room with a secret door in it. And there's the barracks that's 20 by 40. Ta-da! There's your map. So there's a lot of graph paper makes it really nice because you can draw it on the lines and you can be real. But there it is with non-graph paper, just paper. All right, no big deal there. I brought this just to remind players, you got to keep yourselves organized. Very important. So, and this is an inexpensive and it's a nice way. There's my character. I've shown you these before. There goes my Bard Warlock character sheet. All his spells for his Bard. There goes all his magical items. There goes more of it. There go his warlock spells. Here you see his magical items. Yep, he has a staff of power. You're not seeing nothing incorrect there. There go all my spells that I have available to me. And there we go. All right. So I think I covered everything I wanted to. By the way, of course, my dice, those are important. The player's handbook. Oh, and something new. This is, I forgot to tell y'all guys, but I'm going to show you because this is mine. There is this really cool, it's a magnetic, it's a spell codex, all right? This was purple, yes, of course, I like it. It says spell codex there. It's made by Dragon Shield. Magnetic, opens up. Inside, spell attack bonus, spell save DC. You've got, as you use the spells, how many do I have? And how many have I used? Active spells and miscellaneous notes. This holds 160 spell cards in it. And in the back, there's a little place for taking notes as you go. Amazing. Oh, and here's the neat part. It actually comes with a dry erase marker right in it. And the most amazing part about it is, it doesn't hurt anything because it's designed to hold it. It literally comes just like I showed you. I just got it. They just got them in and they're already out. I got the purple one, thank goodness, but they can get these and are going to get them. They're awesome. 160 spells, which means pretty much you can put all your spell cards in here and keep it with you. It's nice because I can put all my spell cards for my Bard and Warlock in here and then transfer the ones that I'm using that I've memorized for the day or that I'm going to use for that day into my player portfolio. All right, so that is the show for today. It covered a lot of things. I hope that I helped make things a little easier to understand and where to go get them. Listen, I can't tell you enough. Player's Handbook. You got to have it, okay? All right. Yes, a dragon tower. It's a purple dragon tower that I rolled on because, well, purple's my favorite color, don't you know? And it is what it is. But that's it for the show. Thank you for spending some time with me. For those of you who see it later, I hope that I've answered your questions, all of you who email me. And keep those questions coming. And listen, if I don't answer it today or at the very next show, it's probably because I'm doing what I just did. I'm trying to put them together so when I talk about it, it's all one time. And I don't forget something that might have been important. And, you know, those who come on the show always help me remember things, even if it's about chuletas for the Ren Fair. But it reminded me that I needed to tell you that I'm gonna do my show on Wednesday. Thanks to Antonio, I moved it. Yeah, not Thursday, Wednesday. And great questions, everybody. Thank you. And as always, may the road rise up to meet your feet, and may all your adventures be successful. Oh yes, my co-host, Xanathar's cousin, and myself from the collective in Altamont Springs, Florida, wishing you a wonderful weekend. Take care, and I will see you Wednesday of next week instead of Friday. See you then.